Recording in my name is Yael. I manage the marketing activities for StageOne Ventures. In short, we are a fund. We've been around for the last 20 years. We invest very early on in seed. We invest in Israeli founders in Israel and around the globe, and we invest in deep tech technologies that come to solve challenging enterprise, complex enterprise challenges. We are investing out of our third fund, and we currently have 27 active portfolio companies and growing. And I think part of my position is working with founders when it comes to marketing, and it's very interesting to see them evolve from, I would say, the garage stage to invest, to raising seed, raising round A, and as the company grows, and really playing that role in building that marketing strategy with them. What we've decided to do, and what I decided to do, is a project called Marketing Playbook for Startups with marketing experts from Israel. We should be having around 7 topics. And I will be interviewing different marketing experts on different subjects relevant for startups. And I think the sessions are very much based on experience with founders, and that, you know, when they take this word marketing, which is a huge word, and it's you know, broken down to so many different activities. And really founders need to find the activities which are relevant for each stage of the company they're in, and they need to focus on them in order to reach their business goals. So I'm really excited to start this, and the first session, which I'm very excited about, is Marketing 101 for Startups. We're going to talk a lot about data-driven startup marketing, inbound, outbound, etc. The session is with Einav Laviv. I actually know, hi Einav, nice to meet you. I've actually known Einav for a few years, and I've worked closely with her. She's worked with our portfolio companies. She worked with SafetyK, one of our companies that was sold to AppLovin, I think 2 years ago. Great company. And I think Einav, and she will tell a bit about herself and about the G2M team. She established a global marketing firm which really focuses on startups for marketing, mainly seed to post round A, where they don't have a marketing figure in the company yet. She has years of experience in marketing, and I think what I really love most about Einav, and I'm sorry, I don't want to embarrass you, is the fact that you're always one pace ahead. You're always looking at the market, and you know how to take the next steps. And I think that's extremely important when it comes to giving advice to founders. And not only, you know, giving them that advice, but helping them build that marketing person. So when they do need to bring in a marketing team, they already know what they need to do. So Einav, I'm giving you this stage before we go into questions, so you can tell us a little bit more about yourself.
So hi everybody. Yeah, so like Yael said, I'm the co-founder of G2M team. I co-established the company 8 years ago, together with my beloved partner, Tzipi Joseph. That was after having our own startup experience, startup entrepreneurship experience, and after being already years in the tech marketing industry. And it was like back then, 8 years ago, we realized that startups that have raised a significant seed or round A money are still in their early stage, and we saw that they have a common challenge. They are all struggling with kicking off their marketing and with finding the right people to help them. From a variety of reasons, they were struggling with the right, whether to bring an internal persona, what persona, or they couldn't find an agency, an external agency that fits their stage and situation. So we established G2M team. The name stands for go-to-market team. We get asked about it a lot. In order to offer a comprehensive all-in-one solution tailored to such startup at such stages, so between sort of post-seed to post-round A, maybe a little bit of round B, that includes strategy, planning, and multi-area execution. And today, we've already accompanied and are still accompanying more than 100 startups, so we've learned a lot, and yeah, the journey is very nice and fun.
Thank you. Interesting. So let's start with the first question, which everyone's asking about. What is startup marketing, and why is it so different than, I would say, your regular marketing? Because it is extremely different, and founders need to know that.
Yes. So everything, if you ask me, everything behaves differently when it comes to startup, and even between different startups in different stages, it's completely different. And of course, versus what you would call a corporate marketing or more mature or traditional marketing. The task is different. It's around setting up things for the first time, learning things for the first time. The level of agility that's needed is different. The budgets are completely different. The resources are different. And the focus activities are also different because a startup cannot do certain activities that a corporate would do. It means that in the marketing that should be executed must be done by understanding the startup mission and the stage and the budget and the limitation, and also by people that get it and have done it. Now, I'm saying it because many founders that I meet with, they were hiring CMOs of the competitive leader or of giant companies, hoping they would do the same magic for them. Then they get disappointed just because a corporate talent is commonly lost when it's a small startup with no infrastructure and with the need to build everything from scratch. And a lot of CMOs for big companies are used to running huge budgets, having a lot of teams around them to support them, and that ecosystem just doesn't exist for a young startup. So that causes results to be sort of failure. So when you think about startup marketing, you should think about everything that's so unique about startups, and that means also about the marketing. So do you do your R&D differently than what happens in corporate? Do you have your product progress faster? Do you use, generally speaking, in the startup, different approach, different tools than you would use in a corporate? Same goes for the marketing division.
Okay. So that pretty much leads me to my next question. I think it's interesting to see what happens when a company leaves the garage stage and then raises, the seed round. And I think especially today, we need to look at it because the seed rounds in the recent years have become much bigger. Okay, now they've become much bigger, so they need to scale much faster, and they need to bring in, quality people in order to, get to those business goals and, go to market and and get the company running. So, what does that look like? How is marketing part of that roadmap, which is so important to get the goal?
Well, yeah. So out of the garage, when the significant sum of money enters, is I would say it's welcome to one of the most challenging stages for founders, and because founders that got used to working in the garage, business poverty, and doing everything on your own, you should simply quickly or instantly change your head and change your state of mind and start now building a company with a limited budget still, but with a budget. And it's very, I can say it's very hard for a lot of founders to sort of adjust to the new situation. By the way, it doesn't only happen between the garage and the seed stage. It can also happen when you raise a significant round A or round B money. We see that as well. But then they need to sort of develop a state of mind of, yes, I have a budget and I need to spend that budget. I need to spend it wisely, but I'm not about now trying to get everything free and save all money at all costs. So, and like you were saying, seed money in the past year has grown, like the amounts have grown significantly. We can all see it. Our founders are raising a lot of money in seed stage, and it means that in accordance, the expectations and the KPIs are now more challenging. and they should be faster and like more successful in the quick establishments of the foundations and the results. So they are getting more money, and yes, a chunk of it should go to the marketing, but it means that they should run in a certain way, or they should meet a different and new standard of execution, and in really fast to test the idea, which is what you should do with marketing when you start. Receive market feedback, ensure that the company communications move good enough so that the feedback would reflect the real potential of the product. Reach quick enough, reliable conclusions. Make adaptations to the product, to the solution, and sort of grow the company very fast. It's also usually the time when what we see when it's a tough time, because it's when reality starts biting.
Okay.
So founders know that things are, I mean, in mind, they know that things are not going to run smoothly and problems will occur, and probably market fit issues will be seen. But it's one thing is knowing it in theory, and another thing is experience it. And while you start as a founder to experience it, it's not fun.
Right. Especially when we're talking about tech founders, you know, they don't have that marketing background or that marketing mindset.
Yeah, true. And these are also, like you were saying, tech founders, people with heavy technical background, brilliant. They're used to being always at the front, knowing everything, being able to solve everything, and suddenly you get out of the garage, you do everything properly, you have your marketing on spot, you design a good website which is fast enough but still looks very good, and your messaging is, you know, finished, and the customer would just, you know, they don't come, or they give excuses, and now you need to better understand what's going on. And so it's not an easy stage, but on the other hand, during this time, marketing is almost, if you think about it, the only tool that you have to really collect feedback at scale. Like, get enough data, get it fast enough, and reach conclusions. I always say that I expect to fail with, you know, messaging or market fit product, and to see, you know, to be surprised, not in a good way. I want to do it fast. I want to get it as fast as possible, so I can, you know, we can all drive conclusion in this company and move on. And
right.
and that would mean that you still need to do marketing that costs money, that is you know, that spends money on inbound and outbound activities. Now, what I see that today, many Israeli founders, it's not like it used to be 8 years ago, but it's still many Israeli founders don't really treat marketing at this stage as important as product and R&D, and then they regress it. So they go, and I can understand them, because they have, you know, a limited budget, and they need to develop a product. And they're, first, let's remember, tech people, not marketing people, very R&D, engineering, product oriented. And they many times they neglect the marketing, or they leave the marketing for later, because they don't really understand that marketing is not, you know, you can't kick it off instantly. It's right. Since they don't know the profession, they think, okay, I will bring, when the product is ready, I will bring a marketing person, and the very next day, everything is smooth and running, which of course couldn't be far from the truth. So so what happens is they fail to understand how long it takes to build the foundations in order to pitch the outside with the potential buying persona. So they don't really understand that the marketing team, external, internal, it doesn't matter, cannot go outside and test the market, test the water, before you have a proper strategy, messaging, website, a collateral, technical, you know, we'll talk about it later on, but technical configurations, operational stuff, which they're getting like complex nightmare every day, and so they go, the progress with the product and the solution, and they don't get the market feedback.
Right.
So what happens is that they later on they tell me, okay, it's one of the key lessons learned. We need to establish marketing operation as soon as the money is raised, no excuses. And it's always fun, interesting to see serial entrepreneur, very experienced one, when I get to work with them. So in their third or fourth startup, they would start the marketing as soon as the company is established, as soon as they have, next thing after the money is in the bank. They wouldn't wait at all. And we start building the brand, testing the water, running all kind of experiments, market fit tests, regardless of the readiness of the product, because they know how much time it takes.
Exactly.
So let me think if I have anything to say. So basically the main task after the seed money is raised and you're out of the garage is to get prepared as fast as possible to running a market fit testing approved through outbound and inbound marketing activities. So collect feedback, and when I say collect feedback is at scale, methodically, and generate market fit insights. That's the main mission. And in order to do that, you need to use marketing, smart startup marketing people that know how to set up an infrastructure from scratch, because this is what you have at the moment, nothing. And do it on the one hand as fast as possible, but on the other hand in a good enough level that would gain the trust needed. So yeah, it's not the time to spend a fortune on a website, but on the other hand, it's enough with the do-it-yourself. So yeah, you cannot reach market feedback with things with the materials that you had while you were in the garage. So that's a stage where it's very hard for founders to really understand.
It's funny because I think one of the things when I meet founders for the first time and they've just raised seeds and the seed round, and I ask them, I'm like, well, tell me what your company does. And a lot of times it takes them and I keep asking them, they get into this, we do this technical. I'm like, no, what do you do? And it sometimes takes them 40 minutes to tell me in a sentence what they do. And I always say to them, go into a room, close the door for 2 hours and come out with, the 10 messages, because they're still in that, okay, we need to do a lot of brand awareness. Now, it's not that they don't need to do brand awareness. Brand awareness is great, but I think, like you said, they need to start doing things very, very fast, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Also, as the company grows, the product will change. In 6 months' time, you may have, 2 or 3 new customers on board, and they may need new features, and you may be changing your messaging again. So
yes, you will. You most probably will. Exactly. Not even may.
Changing it. So
you will.
Spend that so much energy and time on the website and on the messaging. It's good to have. Now, I think another thing, and we'll discuss it down the line, is that focus from using, I would say the traditional, the brand awareness marketing activities, if it's content or if it's a website, if it's messaging, and focusing that, that mindset, not that it's brand awareness, but it's generating leads. How am I going to take that message and how am I going to use the website and generate, quality leads to bring in?
I would even say generate feedback, in a measurable way.
Exactly.
Because you just started, you're not going to have an instant market fit, and you will I don't know, skyrocket your business results in a minute. You need to have a better understand the state of mind of the buyer personas, and you need to do that not in a qualitative way, but you need in a quantitative way. So you need to really understand what's going on, and that means data-driven marketing completely. And for that, you're completely right. You need an infrastructure. You cannot go without an infrastructure. So yeah, so messaging, so everything that derives from that.
So let's just discuss very quickly, because the market, and we'll discuss it in the recent years soon, it's changing in such a rapid pace. So is marketing and just in general. How do companies, when they need to do this in a fast and agile way, but doing it in the best method at the end of the day? Because they need to do a lot of testing, but they don't want to make too many mistakes. It's a very fine balance here, and it's a lot of time, the chicken and the egg. And how do they
Yeah.
do it properly?
So, the question is also what counts for being agile and what's not, and what level of agility do you need at every stage. So garage style agile is not the same as where you should be in terms of I don't know, seed stage around day. Of course, you wouldn't be as fast as you were in the garage because you were 2 people, 3 people, now you're 20 people, and there's a company here. So and also I want to tell you, look, I've been working with post-seed to round day startups for the past 8 years, a little bit of tech companies, small team tech companies. I don't even remember, I used to be working in corporates 10 or 15 years ago. I don't know how much, how not agile are they. I kind of, sometimes I encounter or I speak with colleagues from tech companies. So I don't know how much they are, for instance, spending on different activities today. How much would a corporate spend on a new website, or how much time would they need in order to execute on different activities? I do know it's when I talk to colleagues, I do know it's a lot less agile than what a seed stage startup, a round day startup needs in order to survive. So when I start working on a startup company, I sort of analyze together with the team the KPIs, the business KPIs. I never look at the marketing KPIs because marketing is an enabler. Eventually, the entire company should be committed to the business KPIs, and that's the opportunities, the deals, the revenues, and that allows me to calculate, to reverse calculate the level of agility that is needed, and to even understand if these are feasible KPIs that can be met. Now, then I'm toggling between the speed I need to meet and the KPIs that I have, and the resources and budgets that are aligned here. And on the other hand, the sort of good enough concept. Right. So for instance, sometimes I would be asked to get to an unbelievable result within 3 months, where there's no infrastructure, and a request to build I don't know, just 1 page landing page instead of a website to achieve that. Then I know that when I realized that that's just not enough, I wouldn't be able to collect market data with such, low level materials, communication materials, because people on the other side wouldn't treat the company seriously. Then I wouldn't take it. I would say no, because it's bound to failure. On the other hand, I always try to do things as fast as possible and as lean as possible, and as low cost as possible, still as long as it's good enough. So it's I can't tell you exactly what is how do you create an agile a website in an agile way. I can tell you that it goes between 2 months to 3 months in these stages, or it same goes about the budget. So the basic rules for startup agility is, let's really understand what's good enough. Let's not go beyond below this threshold, and on the other hand, let's understand what corporate activities should be out of scope, as we won't be able to meet an agile marketing, to do agile marketing and still have these activities executed.
I think it's a very strong mindset, that people need to understand the good enough, which is really good enough, and not, spend the time in doing, the best. But that actually brings me to my next question, and we can't not talk about the past year, because if we're looking at that, the COVID-19 year, which has been, it's a global pandemic, which everyone's, experienced. And at the end of the day, marketing has completely shifted, because from seed companies or from, founders getting on a plane every 5 minutes to bringing new customers and meeting them face to face. Everything's become online and digital. So the digital arena has become huge. The supermarket cart is full of products, and you have to, stand out in your product. So is good enough, or do you have to be better? It's a change. And how do they know how to overcome that when you say the good enough, rule for startups?
So yes, the digital is now a lot more competitive, but then again, it's always more competitive. Like even if you compare 2019 to 2018, but then when COVID started, it was clear that things that are about to dramatically change. And before even the demand came from the startup, I was betting that there would be a huge push on inbound and outbound and sort of marketing that is fully collaborated with sales. On the one hand, it worked well because similarly, like how people got instantly educated with regards to think about online shopping and how much, people instantly got it. And, when they're, like my mom used to say that a necessity is the mother of solutions. So it became very easy to get founders understanding the need for digital and for buying personas on the other side to be able to purchase B2B goods, sort of run buying a decision through digital channels. So the opportunity grew. And traditional marketing made room for data-driven marketing and demand gen, a lot more room, and if including activities that are very, very technical, related to technical operations in the area of marketing. It was very fast and are therefore very measurable because founders needed something to show them business results in a way that they can see it and measure the ROI. Sales is limited to digital instantly because no traveling, no events, and it's good. It's great to have traditional marketing like presentations, messaging, content, but you need to sort of close the loop. And that was a very, very clear change. And yes, so the level or the quality that's needed is the quality grew, like you were asking, and it's not only about the quality of the communication. So the level of the standard of the textual communication, the blog articles, the videos. It's also about how you run your growth, B2B growth architecture in terms of leveraging techniques, tools, automation, new amazing tools became available, tons of them, and instantly. And I remember myself, last April, when COVID was, in its highest, just trying to learn a new tool a day,
right? That
were focused about bulk, outbound, outreach, data enrichment about the intent of buyers around the world, and new inbound tools, new tools for campaigns. So I can summarize and say that COVID changed how startups communicate with potential banners. And it really contributed to the prestige of digital. And startup had to instantly, on the one hand, minimize burn rates, and which made them push and focus on activities that contributed directly to their business results. And that means, in other words, the era of demand gen and B2B growth. The cycle between marketing and sales really connected, and marketers, traditional marketers that didn't know how to, run data-driven marketing or fully collaborate with sales, found themselves missing a big part, which if you ask me, really is really risky to the careers, and everything is done digitally. Right. Like we run this session now in Zoom, and it feels smooth and you know, very easygoing, and the marketing, like I saw it, it started a year ago. Really had to commit to business KPIs, sales opportunities, deals. So and also if you take it to startups, early stage young startup, then think about the marketing persona. So they don't have too much. Their budgets are limited, their resources are limited. So and they can't afford 10 different marketing people. So it means that they are after a full stack marketing persona, really full stack, in a sense that a persona that knows the soft areas of marketing, like how do you write best-in-class content, storytelling, communication in general, but also how do you run growth architecture, inbound lead gen, how do you connect it with outbound sales and marketing activities, how do you create content that fits different activities and funnel, and how can you measure and present the relation between the direct relation between what you do in the business results, and later on, of course, being able to measure the ROI as a consequence.
I think that's it's interesting to see, because you know, a lot of companies who are looking for if it's someone marketing internal or an agency, this is a really important tip, because you need to find that balance. It's not easy today. It really isn't easy, because that shift, and there are a lot of people that of course have the digital, you know, background, but you have to find someone that does everything. And again, I always say, you know, you don't need to find someone, you can find someone with years of experience as well, but you need to find someone that can really fit the DNA of your company, understand the digital, and also connect to sales. It's super important today. Sales and marketing, it's like one thing. And of course, salespeople are very different characters, and so are marketing, but they have to work together today, because otherwise, you know, it's just, you're losing data, and it's a waste. And I think that's super important. Do you actually think, I'm always asking, everyone asks me about face to face, do you think it's going to come back? And if it does come back, is it going to be super different? Like, how do you see it as someone who deals with it all the time? And
so I think part of it will come back. Yes, humanity will go back to normal. We will fly. We will use planes in
we need to fly.
This will happen someday. We're gonna go to physical events because it's good for business, and also, let's admit it, a lot of business people just love these events. It gives them a time to break away from the routine, to sort of get to emotionally connect with other business people. So that's no replacement. Along with it, digital will stay and stick around, and you will continue to see a lot of the sales cycles run in Zoom. You will continue to see the domination of digital in marketing, in branding, in inbound, in outbound. And even today, if you look at Gartner or similar research firms, they report that more than 60% of the buying decision process is done digitally. It's done based on behind the scenes, running online research by the buying persona, and when the salespeople are not even aware. Right. So and it's just expected to grow.
Tell me, let's talk a little bit about market fit and how companies actually need to show their oil marks when it comes to market fit today. Because we're always talking about market fit, founder fit. Let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So do you wanna what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about market fit and sort of how to test watermarks? It's always interesting to see how do you know, because you represent the startups. You get to meet them even before they make a marketing decision and onboard people. You know, it could be internal or external agencies. and you're supporting them, and they need to, and probably they're really bothered about market fit and how are they going to test their solution. So what they're saying, what are they sort of,
What are our startups saying?
yeah.
It's really about finding that the business and sale opportunities and how they differentiate themselves from the competitors in the market. That's pretty much, what they want to do. They do want to make a name for themselves out there. I think the founders as well, they want to be the face of the company, which is super important. And they want, they want their product and their company to have a statement so people understand, why their product brings value, okay? And why their product is one to use, even if, there's a competitor or if there's others in the market, especially, today. I mean, even looking, let's just take a thing in the cyber industry, which is a huge industry, and there's so many products and
very hard also to differentiate yourself.
Right, exactly. It's extremely hard to differentiate. So how their product really can make that change. And a lot of times it's also finding, showing them what was wrong, okay, to begin with, how it could have been, managed and how it could have been prevented.
So focusing on the existing pain and then showing the value.
So I think that's always been, out there. It's nothing, but I do think today I see our founders, which is interesting. They're willing to be much more out there. Something, a few years ago, founders would be like, be out there when it comes to marketing. But today they want to leave that, in Hebrew they say gushpanka or chotemet. They really want to be out there. They want to be the face of the company as well. And I think that's something which is, evolved over the past few years, and that's what we see a lot as well.
So I would say that, market fit, first of all, when I start working with again, my startups, and I'm always stating it because it's very important, are always in their early stages after they have significant money, but usually there is no clear, obvious market fit. Otherwise, it would have been, they would have been in their C or D stage and would have been, raising scale up or growth funding rounds. But that's the difference between finding market fit and looking for finding market fit feedback, which is this is what I'm focused on. In order to get feedbacks, you need to start pushing your messages in front of target audiences and see what kind of feedback are you getting. So there is quantitative feedback, like it could even be responses or engagement with different campaigns and different messages, and there's qualitative feedback, sort of what kind of feedback you are getting when you manage to catch them and speak with them, which then means that you're very lucky to be able to do that. So for that, I need to make sure that a couple of things happen. We have a coherent story that we worked on, which also called messaging, and that reflect what we believe about the product and the market and the target audience and everything fits together, and then you put that in your communication where people will see it. So it could be campaigns, it could be the website, it could be landing pages, it could be content, it could be articles, and that means that you have a very clear line that you follow, a very clear path, and you have a consistent story that you test, and then you, on the one hand, you make sure that you target the people that you are estimating to be your target audience. You need to do all that. Then you go, then in that sense, your research lab or sort of the experiment is ready. You have the right audience, the target audience, you have the right messaging, and you have the, what I call always the arsenal for the test. So I'm always talking in an arsenal and artillery. So you have everything at your disposal and everything is clear. And then you would need to do a lot of technical activities that are gathered under the name inbound and outbound in order to manage to get eyeballs on your story. That's the first step. You need eyeballs, because everything else from that eyeball are steps into the funnel which reflect the feedback. Even if you don't get anything besides eyeballs, that's a clear feedback.
Right. No, I agree.
So you need to get eyeballs. You can do that when promoting content in specific professional groups that are clearly representing your target audience. You can do that much more efficiently in paid campaigns, because paid campaigns will allow you to run very, very clear targeting and to reach results relatively quickly. And I'm not talking about very expensive campaigns. So you can do that. And then from that, you can see what people are responding to more, what people are what gets more clicks, what articles gets a higher qualitative measure, such as session duration in Google Analytics. So you see the people are reading, makes more interesting. What titles generate more interest? So and then the scale is very important here, and that's why it's called data-driven marketing, because you can't count on feedback from 10 people and set the future of your company and the product and the design and the development based on that. You gotta have feedback in mass, and you gotta make sure that your feedback is reliable, and that means behind the scenes technical craziness. So if you think about marketing, so I think I heard Udi Legdorgar and a couple of other very respectable marketing personas talk about the rise of marketing operations and why it's so important today. So yes, that's a huge change in a short time. I find myself today, even as a company leader, but still very occupied on technical stuff, because the level of experience that is needed is amazing, and the troubleshooting, fixing, and organizing things and running fixes together directly with Facebook, with Google, with LinkedIn, with Google Tag Manager, collaborating or implementing between APIs, making sure that the automation is tracking the data properly, aggregating data. It was always tough in the area of data-driven marketing, but today it takes at least 30% chunk of my day to day, and you can't do without it, because you will not get meaningful, reliable, sufficient data that would allow you to drive conclusion. Okay, so in order to tell the founder, okay, I think that's the angles that the market is looking for in terms of market feedback. So the market is more interested in values that reflect this and that utility and less this and that. And in order to tell a founder, I think that the acquisition cost of an opportunity would stand on a range of between this money and that money, and you need to calculate that in order to keep profitable for the long run. In order to bring such feedbacks, the marketing operation needs to be very sophisticated, and the growth architecture needs to be built on multiple accurate tracking systems.
Okay, all right. Before we go into summarize, I do want to ask you the last question, and then we will go on to the second part, which is interviewing one of our companies. We did speak about it a bit now on the ROI-driven marketing and all that, but who wins? Okay, inbound marketing or outbound sales prospecting? I want to summarize a little bit on this aspect.
You're asking me about inbound or outbound?
Yes.
So I have a very clear statement here. Both. You have to do both. You cannot do one instead of the other. Inbound is, from what I experience, there's no replacement to inbound. When your inbound is kicked off and it's starting to show fruits, nothing works better than that. Because what is inbound? Inbound is really having a brand. Think about it. When the inbound shows results, it means that the demand comes to you. It means that you can lower the level of investment on pushing people and still, still run, of course, still run inbound communication, still run inbound campaigns, still work heavily on your inbound content channels, but you will see results that are coming in, which means people want to speak to you and they do the first move.
Right.
And when they do the first move, it's completely different in terms of the business potential and the closing rates, etc. On the other hand, outbound is a short-term method. You would get, it's very hard to run outbound that is not spammy. Okay, so it's not that by saying, but when I say outbound, I mean, okay, go do whatever all other people do and spam the LinkedIn and like make people angry. No, you need to be creative and you need to be smart about it. And you need to think about content here as well. But on the other hand, a couple of years ago, you had no option to reach a CISO, for instance, no matter what you did. You had no way. You either could use connections and meet him in events, or the relationship, a close relationship of a sales executive that you hire, nothing more than that. Now digital allows us to outreach, to make sure to have a potential to get a CISO, look at our messages in private, and that means by LinkedIn, email, doesn't matter. So the potential is huge, and it's a short term. You send a message today, the person can see it tomorrow. So until the inbound is effective, because inbound is a huge investment, and you must do it. Then you need to do you must do the outbound to complete the picture. And as long as you do it very smart, you may want to continue doing it in the future because it's fruitful.
So I think, Dean, hi, and I'm glad you joined. Before we jump to the next part, I actually just want to summarize, and this is something because I'm sure people that are watching this, especially founders, are like, well, what activities should we do? Should we focus on content? Should we focus on emails? And I think at the end of the day, for each company, it's different. You need to focus on activities based on your business strategy and where you want to be in 3 to 6 to 9 months. But again, the mindset is even if I took a PR agency, okay, and I'm going to be in 15 quotes now a month in different, it's how to use the PR and bring in leads. It's how to use that for inbound, outbound, and all the marketing activities. It's that focus, it's that mindset, I would say, from having the brand awareness, which you always have to have anyway, and taking those activities, if it's PR, if it's content, if it's social, and using the end-to-end. How do I take that and put it into the funnel? How do I take a lead which is fallen from the funnel, I bring it back in again? And there are so many marketing tools out there. We don't need to talk about them because they're out there, and tools that help us. And I think that's really the mindset that founders should be in today. So I think that's a really important point. And the next session, we always like to bring in, since we started it, but we're going to bring in a company as well, one of our portfolio companies, to ask a few questions and get answers, things that they're finding challenging or they just want answers for. So here's Dean. Hi, Dean. Dean is the co-founder of DAGsHub. He will tell us a little bit more about DAGsHub in a minute. But overall, it's the GitHub for machine learning. That's how I like to say, and it provides a platform for collaboration of management and management for data science industry. And we led the seed investment last March. Really, I think just when the COVID started and everything. They're located in Tel Aviv, and Dean's co-founder is Guy. Dean, can you tell us a little bit more about the company and in 2 to 3 sentences, and then let's jump into your question. If you want, I'll read the question, or you can read the question, whatever you prefer.
Sure. So very happy to be here, and thanks for taking my questions. So I'm Dean. I'm one of the founders of DAGsHub. DAGsHub, in a nutshell, it's what Yael said. It's basically a platform that lets data scientists work together and manage their projects in a sane way. And basically, what we're doing is we are taking sort of very widely adopted tools and then connecting them into a single platform. So it's very accessible to data scientists, and they can sort of onboard gradually. And this is relevant to marketing because it was very clear to us from a very early stage that the way to build a very successful company is to go bottoms up, or to focus on what is now called product-led growth. And basically the definition I got for product-led growth, which I liked, is that the product is your best marketing asset. But obviously it's not your only marketing asset. And that's basically what my questions are going to focus on. So I'm going to just dive right into the first one. Basically, product-led growth and bottoms up in general usually focuses on long tail and long-term efforts, like creating content, like being a thought leader, engaging with existing communities. But the downside of all of those channels is that they are very slow to ROI. And obviously, you have to work on them and you can't neglect them. But my first question is, are there shorter term ROI channels for bottoms up or product-led growth companies? And again, if I had like 100% of my marketing budget, how should I divide it between long-term and short-term channels?
Okay. So, well, first of all, short-term ROI sounds amazing. If I mean, at least I don't know short-term ROI, because ROI is sort of a goal. It's like a measurement that shows you the benefit or the end result, sort of. And I'm always saying, you know, a lot of founders are looking for, and I can understand them, are looking for, you know, the results quickly because they're very stressed, and they sort of understand the importance of being bound. And I was just talking about it with Yael a couple of minutes ago. But they sort of want to see faster business results or indications, and I'm always telling them, yeah, I know, I hear you, but if there was a sort of magic ROI, short-term ROI, then everybody would go that way and nobody would have done inbound. Is why. So yeah, so inbound, yes, it takes time to show ROI, but no better way. However, and that's important for me to say, in the inbound itself, when you do inbound itself, then there are ways to sort of try and reach shorter cycles through the product. Like you were saying, the product is the best marketing. So like Yael mentioned Safety K that we were working with, and other companies that we managed to create a sort of little gems that are provided through the product and generate brand awareness and get people to quickly know the company and use it and enjoy it. For instance, in Safety K, it was we had a couple of tools. One tool was a sort of a SDK analytics. It was a tool. Safety K was a solution, is a solution today. It's uploading for developers, mobile app developers, and the SDK analytics tool allows everyone to identify the SDK that any app, any Android app is using. So competitive app or unrelated app, and instantly it's free, but you need to sign up. So that's one example for how it was still an inbound. It was still an inbound because we had to promote this tool, and we had to make sure that developers and their community knew us and talked about us with each other. But we used this tool in order to generate data reports, industry reports. We used that tools and planted in all kind of places. We used this tool to answer specific questions. So that allowed us to sort of get an, receive engagement in scale from the market. Of course, that when you work on executive sales and you try to reach I don't know, the head of the data department of a huge bank, then it would be it would be hard to sort of build on a massive outcomes from such inbound tactics. But when you go long tail and when you try to target a lot of users in a given market, that many of them are mid-level or low-level managers, they would they are every day. Their every day is based on their utilities that they can gain from tools, and they would appreciate enormously this kind of gems. Other gems included open source. I don't need to bring, probably you know that pieces of open source code works amazing. Another company of mine just released an emulator. It was in the cybersecurity area, and that gets a lot of appreciation and a willingness from the market to contribute and spread the word.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then I guess this is a good follow-up then. So these long-term, it's like you said, if there was a channel that worked, then everyone would just do that. And I think the closest thing to that is content marketing, or in our specific case, I'll ask about blog posts. Like one thing that we're stumbling on is that there are a lot of machine learning tools in the market. Some of them are competitive, but most aren't. But all of them employ the content strategy as a main strategy. And the result of that is that the end user, the people that we're going after, so mainly data scientists, machine learning engineers, data engineers, are flooded with a lot of content. And then the question becomes, how can you differentiate yourself? So you can always say, like, we want to be more creative and write better blog posts. But is there, I don't know, is there something which is more methodical that you can do to put yourself aside from everyone else?
So like you were saying, content is king. Absolutely, it's still a king. And I see it every day. I see it when I work with my startups. I see it on G2M team as well. And like you were saying again, so first of all, there are many industries where the content, the amount of content is overwhelming. And so a couple of things I wanna say. First of all, yes, I do say that I've never even once had a situation where after looking at things like in a methodical way, I couldn't find an angle or sort of make sure that my content shines. Sometimes I'm just being more provocative. Sometimes I use different, I try to bring more value in the content. So that's the first part. So yeah, there is, the internet is full of content, but at the end of the day, the internet is not full of superb quality content, because that's hard to do. And also the standard always changes. So even if you had something that was considered superb 2 years ago, it's not superb anymore. So there's always room for evolution. And then you asked me about how to do it methodically. So yes, it's not done in an opportunistic way. That's very important and a good point. Because when you try to create content in an opportunistic way, it's very hard to sort of create a strategy and generate content that works for you. So what we do, and I don't know what other marketers, do, or other firms, I have our own blend, and the way we do it. It all starts with a competitive analysis that looks at the target audience. It's very important, the perspective of the target audience, and then we try to look at competition, but also leaders, content leaders that speak to this same target and are not necessarily competing. Okay, they could be different areas at all, but they speak to the same target audience. So if I'm a data scientist, you may provide me an AI system that helps me run sort of data queries. I'm not sure, but another tool would be sort of data management system. That is completely different. Okay, not related. So when we run this content comparative analysis, what we do is we try, first of all, we look at the content, the arsenal, like I said before, to Yael, and then we look at how these companies are promoting the content. It's different. It's two different areas, and in each one of them, you can find vulnerabilities, and sort of you can find their disadvantages, what they are not doing good enough. Okay, and from that you start driving. So it's either some companies are doing amazing content, they don't know how to promote it. Great, double win for me. I will leverage their amazing content, and I do know how to promote it. Because content that you're not promoting is not there. It's not even content. Okay. And you can upload the content to your blog or to your resources pages or to video page and expect things to happen, because nothing will happen, really, nothing. On the one hand, I see a lot of companies that are generating good content, but they are not bold enough. They're scared. What are you scared for? People are looking for somebody that has a solid statement. So yes, I'm not afraid, and you can take a look at my blogs. They can be, sometimes people get very annoyed from what I say there. I get people feedbacking on my title, and then it's good. There's a discussion, and I tell them, wait, you're crying, you're bitching about the title, but did you go and read the entire blog? Because everything you say is exactly the point in the blog. So it works for me. The only part where the content is so-so is where I'm blocked by founders. And they are too scared, and they don't let me, because and then usually it takes them time, to unfreeze. And then when they realize, that yellow is yellow everywhere, and you need to be very professional, very, the content must be amazing and value adding, and of course, and I'm talking heavy B2B. But then again, you're talking to people, and people want to be people. They don't want to be machines. So yeah, so there's huge room to run amazing content, but yes, it needs to be done by experts, because and methodically.
I also think that, and I remember we discussed this in one of our workshops, that it really needs to, especially in companies, I would say like DAGsHub, when you're still a small team, it really needs to be content, even if you're not writing it or someone else is writing it, it needs to have, Dean or Guy's approach. People need to know who you are, okay? When you're raising the next fund, the investors want to see you. There are huge companies where they do a lot of thought leadership, and it's great, but most startup companies are not there yet. And I always say to our startups, when you look at your content, how much is coming out of the founder and how much is coming out of, generic content? And they'll say like, 70% is generic content, 30% is, coming from the founders. I'm like, yes, because the generic content can be great content, but it can come from a founder. And people need to know, because you said there's so much content in the app, you have to, put yourself out there and, show also that I always say, the founders, especially the ones we invest in, they know the market the best. They know the technology, they know the market. So they really, really need to show that in the content. And again, I think it's funny enough you say, I just met with, a friend and she was saying, we write all this amazing content. I'm like, well, what do you do with it? She's like, well, we'll put it on our website. And I'm like, who's it reaching? She goes, well, it reaches our social media. I'm like, but that's not enough. I'm like, how many followers do you have? I'm like, it's not enough. You need to take that content and see how you can squeeze every little bit out of it and continue to pushing content out there all the time. It's not, let me do one content and that's it. I'll do it every, once a month. It really needs to be, especially for the companies, you need to, and to find your market, we spoke about that before, you need to continue pushing out good content.
Also, what Yael is saying, it doesn't mean that you have to be the creator.
Right.
It needs to, that is very important. You're the CEO of the company, and that you need to have a marketing team that knows you well and knows your tone of voice and understands the product strategy and knows what you believe in, and knows, of course, writing and knows top funnels and content. And you need to go over the results before publish the content and see and approve everything, and maybe add your two, spice it a little bit, just a little bit. And these people should be your sort of shadows in terms of the content creation, the social media, your LinkedIn evangelist profile, everything. That is very important. But the voice must be personal. I totally agree. Yes.
So my two main takeaways is to be, no matter how bold you think you are, to be a bit bolder. And also it doesn't matter who wrote it first, it matters where you read it first. So I'll take those away.
Absolutely. But also provocative in a smart way. Bolder in a smart way, not to be Israeli chutzpah. So yeah.
Even though I am seeing a lot of other people adopt Israeli chutzpah for their content, so maybe we are onto something. And I guess my last question is maybe sort of an obvious and wishful thinking question, but is there do you think that PPC or any paid channels have a place for bottoms up or product led growth companies? Or is it only like I have spoken to companies who said we do it, but their budget is like 10 times or more larger than ours. So the question is, does it have a place in early stage companies or
Yeah,
not?
it's a great question. And the absolute answer is yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I use PPC campaigns because of their amazing advantages. I don't necessarily expect to conquer the market with $3,000 a month. But if you know what to expect, then it really pays off. So there, you know, when you say PPC, there's a huge difference between Google search, which reflects intent, or LinkedIn campaigns, which allow you amazing targeting, and other channels such as, you know, Facebook, in terms of B2B, I'm talking, such as Facebook or Twitter. But the PPC allows you to ensure, to sort of clean, think about experiments, think about an experiment, think about an attempt to understand market fit and sort of market feedback, and push your messaging in front of different personas, different buying personas within different accounts, and see what catches, what ticks them. So the way to run a clean experiment is by paid campaigns. This allows you to really, really micro target the audiences and to understand what's going on in a way that you won't be able to do in any direct or organic channel. For instance, if you go to group or community and then push your message, you don't know who reads it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go and you run a LinkedIn campaign, then you can really, really run smart, extremely smart targeting and see what happens on the other side. Of course, you need to have a sort of minimum market size and other technical issues I'm not gonna talk about. But and also, so I'm saying when I work on a startup marketing, and then I first ensure, you know, that the foundations are good enough, and then I run all the technical configurations to make sure the tracking is on spot between different marketing tools, and then I work on content. So I need to have the arsenal, and of course try to maximize every sort of free channels, such as the professional communities, influencers, relationship, everything. But then I need to sort of add more fuel to the activities, and this is when I try to use when I bring in PPC and try and start measuring the return on ad investment and the level of PPC. You also want to do PPC just in order to prepare for later stages, because you don't want to go to and raise your A round or B round money and then start understanding, okay, what's PPC, how it's done, and then only 6 months later on, you will know really how to run ROI positive paid campaigns. So yeah, hope I answered.
Awesome. Thank you very much. This was super helpful. I took away a bunch of points. So appreciate it. Sorry?
What did you say?
I said thank you for
No,
answering the questions.
Great. No, I thought Einav said something. I think, that's a wrap, and thank you both. I really think that people will get valuable insight from this. I think it's good, you know, I love speaking to Einav. Whenever I also have marketing, you know, questions, I always pick up the phone to Einav because she's, you know, she tells you what you need to hear. No bullshit around it. And I think marketing, you know, is such a huge word, as we said before, and there's so many different takes on marketing. And with Einav, it's just like very straightforward. And I think that's something that, you know, founders always need to hear. And myself, as someone who's been in marketing for over a decade, also need to know that. Wake up sometimes. I'm also going to write a summary of all the, you know, the questions and answers that we had here, so that if people don't want to watch the video, they can read this. So just so that you know. And I hope that this will be one of many sessions in the marketing experts videos. So thank you both. I really appreciate it. And I wish you guys a great weekend and a great.
Thank you too. Thank you, Yael.
And hopefully we'll be, you know, seeing great things from all our companies. And we have, you know, very high hopes for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that's a brilliant initiative, Yael, and good luck with it.
Thank you very much.
Have a great
Have a good
weekend.
day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. All right, I'm stopping the recording. All right, Dean, thank you.